ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Myself Poonam Kuwar, Assistant Professor, Government First Grade College, Bagepalli. So friends, today we will be discussing BBA 5th semester subject Consumer Behavior, which is affiliated to Bengaluru North University. So for today's session, we'll be discussing the third chapter, Environmental Determinants of Consumer Behaviors. Topic, Reference Group Influence on Consumers. So how these reference groups are influencing consumers for making their buying decisions of any of the product or service. How they influence, whether they influence verbally or non-verbally, and how standardized the reference group gives their opinions. So before going to present session's topic, let us first recap what was our last class topic discussion, which was relating to group dynamics and reference groups influences. So in the previous class, we have discussed what is group dynamics, what are reference groups, and what are the types of groups, what are types of reference groups, how these group dynamics and reference group influence consumers to buy the particular product or service, and how they are giving their suggestions for consumers to build up their consumer behavior. So the learning objective of the chapter, it states that its objective is to understand students, to make the students understand environmental determinants of the consumer behavior. So the session's outcomes are the students will be able to understand the influence of reference groups on the consumer decision making, how these reference groups influences a particular consumer in making the decisions. Now, so exactly, let us start now. What is these reference groups and how they influence the consumer? So first of all, before going how they influence, let us see what are reference groups. What is the meaning of these reference groups? So here, a person or group that serves as a point of comparison. That serves as a point of comparison, that is, in general we call it as a reference for an individual in the formation of either general or specific values, attitudes or behavior. So this short meaning, it gives an elaborated what the mean of reference groups here. A person, it might be an individual person, athava it might be a group of persons. It might be a group of persons. They serves as a point of comparison, like they gives us some platform to compare or to refer ourselves before making any of the buying decision. Like a person or a group that serves as a point of comparison for an individual. They are giving these point of comparisons or point of references for individuals in the formation of, while forming the general or specific, when we are forming our particular specific values, or when we are forming a particular attitude towards any of the product or service, athva any of the behavior if we are building. So while framing all these attitudes, values or behavior or anything etc., if a person or a group of persons is influencing on us for framing those attitudes, values and behavior, so that influencing person, that is referred to as reference group. Okay, next. Now the reference group influence consumers. How these reference groups influences the consumers? So there is no particular standard format, or there are no particular steps where these reference groups will influence in that particular procedure only, or in those particular step-by-step manner only. So in general, the reference groups influences the consumer in three forms. Okay, in general, reference group influences the consumers in three forms. That is, the first is informational, then comes the utilitarian, and then the value expressive. So now let us see in detail what is these all three. So under informational, what comes? When individuals alter their behaviors or beliefs to meet the expectations of a particular group. Like there is some particular group, and to meet the expectation of that particular group, we are modifying our behavior. So I want to become a part of that particular group, so I am modifying my behavior. Okay, so based on how I will be modifying my behavior, based on certain information which I have received, based on that information I am going to modify my behavior, and that behavior which is modified, which will be meeting the expectations of certain particular group. Okay, this is the first form where the reference group influences the consumer. The other form is utilitarian. So this utilitarian is like when people have difficulty in assessing product or brand characteristics by their own observations or contact. Like suppose I have planned to buy some product or I have to go for some services to be used. So when I use those product, when I wanted to use those products and services, I am confused in selecting one particular brand. So when we are confused in selecting certain brand or certain product, we go for this kind of reference groups where those particular reference groups, what they are giving their observational feedbacks, based on that we will be deciding whether I have to go for that brand or whether I have to go for that product or no. So here it states that when people have difficulty in assessing product or brand characteristics, like ನಮಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಯಾವ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, we are confused. In such situations, these kind of reference groups will influence our behavior, will influence ourselves to decide anything. Okay, like example, there are lot of mobile companies in the market, and now I want to go to buy a particular mobile and I have a budget, some specific budget like 20 to 25,000. So I will be first seeing within my budget what are the available brands of mobile phones I have. I mean, I have in front of me to buy. So by collecting these information like different brands which are offering within my budget their products, so now I will be confused. There are so many brands, so many mobile phone brand companies are there. Now which one I have to buy? When I am confused with the brand characteristics based products, I will be using these kind of reference groups. Like I'll be asking one particular experts or some particular experts group who will be suggesting us like this is a good brand you can buy. Based on their reference observational feedback, we will be taking our decision. So this kind of influence is called as utilitarian. Then comes the value expressive. Now, what is this value expressive? When a need for psychological association with a group causes acceptance of its norms, values, attitudes, or behaviors. So, what it states? When a need for psychological association, psychological, it is again internal, how I am thinking, how my behavior is being framed. So, like association with a group causes acceptance of its norms, values, attitudes, or behaviors. Like the value expressive, like if I want to be associated with one certain group, so that certain group will be having their own values, their own norms, attitudes, okay, which is to be built if I want to become a part of that group, or if I want to become a member of that particular group, I have to have such kind of values, such kind of norms which should be cultivated in my behavior. So I will be changing my behavior, changing my values, changing my norms, attitudes, etc., just to become part of that particular association. So these kind of influences is called as value expressive. Now, so this is what how the reference groups can influence the consumers. We have seen in the three different ways. Now let us see what are the different types of reference groups. Okay, what are the different types of reference groups? The first and foremost reference group comes is family. Family plays a very important role in making or shaping the behavior of any particular consumer. Like family is the feedback or observational feedback giver, where family will be influencing us whether I have to go for that product or whether I have to just not to buy that product. Then comes the friends. Friends are also one of the important reference group. Based on the friends suggestions, based on the friends feedback, we are going to take our decision of buying or not to buy. Then comes the social class. So we have different social class which is there in our particular society. People are very rich, people are moderately rich, people are middle class, people are below poverty line. So there are different social classes are available. So based on their social class, they take their buying behavior decision. Like if I am very rich, I'll go for a very high profiled particular brand, to buy anything. If I'm a middle class person, I will be little conscious about taking any pricing decisions. So this is also one of the group which influence the consumer social class. Then we have selected subculture, like the culture in which we are born and brought up, or in which we are sustaining. That culture also will influence our buying behavior decision. Then one's own culture, like subculture and the culture, like main culture might be different, the subculture might be different, because subculture might be our professional culture, and main culture might be our family related traditional culture. So these both will have their influence on the consumer buying behavior decision. Then there are certain other cultures also, like seeing societal standards, by seeing the corporate standards, by seeing the need in the competitive market, we may modify our behavior. Then the selected consumer related reference groups and appeals, who can appeal us for making or modifying our buying behavior decision. Like we have first, as we have seen, friendship groups. Friendship groups plays an important role in taking any decision. Like we consider our friends feedback, we consider our friends opinion before making any buying decision. Then we have shopping groups. There are different shopping groups, like one particular group who is concentrating only on one particular product stream. They will be giving their opinions relating to those products, and by those opinion we will take our decision. Then work groups, the working environment where we are presently working. In that particular environment also, the people will be giving their feedbacks, opinions relating to certain products, and based on those we will may modify our decision. Then comes the virtual groups or communities. In this digital environment, this virtual groups plays an important role, especially the social medias and all. So we are always connected with the social medias and communities, and we modify our behavior. Then we have brand communities, like there are certain people who are very much conscious about the brand. They just to go for that brand only. They don't look at the pricing strategies which has been adopted for those products to be sold in the market. They just want the brand. They are fond of that brand quality only. So if any product has been offered from that particular brand, they will blindly go and buy that. So those communities are called as brand communities, which will influence the reference groups appeals. Then consumer action groups. These consumer action groups are like, if a consumer is not been satisfied with any of the product or service, they may take certain actions against those brand or product. If the product is default, if the service has been not rendered properly, these consumer action groups, we have certain consumer forums where we can complain if I have not been given good quality product with the price paid, or the promised product has been not been delivered. Such kind, these all are called as action groups. Then we have celebrities. This celebrities plays an important role in our Indian market, especially where we people just observe others and we take our decision. Like if a particular hero or a particular actress, if they are using certain brand, and if it has been endorsed or if it has been advertised through any of the media channels, we see those advertisements and then we observe them and we take our decision. Oh fine, she was endorsing this product, I will buy. He was endorsing this product, I will buy. So this is what psychological impact would be placed in a consumer's mind by these celebrities. Then we have the expert. So we have always we always think, if an expert advice has been given on this, I may take my decision correctly. Like we ask the experts who is expert in that particular product characteristics and all. We ask them whether I should buy this or no. So they will give their opinion, and based on that opinion we will modify our decision. So a general common man. So, and this is again very important, like we observe people who is a general layman, who is just a common man, and we see their decision pattern, how they are selecting product, how they are taking the decision. So common man also may influence the appeals. The executive and the employee spokesperson, especially in the corporate sector, the managers, the employee spokespersons, who are the topmost level employees, we observe them and we learn, and we observe them and we take our decisions to modify. Oh fine, our executive is wearing this kind of clothes, I will also next time buy this. So this will impact our buying behavior. And there are other reference group appeals. So how does reference groups influence one particular individuals? Okay. So first comes, whenever the individual is being influenced, the first and foremost concept comes as self-concept. I myself, how I am analyzing oneself. That is, people protect and modify their self-concept by their interaction with group members. When I am associated in one particular group, so when I am been member of that group, we observe the group members. So now ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನು observe ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. Observe ಮಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ we think, oh fine, she is doing this way, I will also do it. He is behaving in this way, I will also do it. Like ಇಲ್ಲಿ self concept ನೋಡೋದು, always we should think positive aspects of the group members. So people can maintain self concept by conforming to learned roles. Learned roles here it places like they are always learned roles. The one particular person whom we are observing, he might be master in that particular role. So by seeing their roles, we may also influence to follow the same kind of roles. Then comes the testimonial advertising. So it is effective when the self projected in the ad is consistent with the idealized self of the target consumers. So Hilly, especially in the Indian market, is been specially influenced by the advertisements and promotional strategies which has been adopted by the companies. So this advertisement plays an important role, as I told. So we observe the advertisements and we modify our consumers. So companies will be planning advertisement in such a way, they will be always concentrating their target consumers. Like example, uh, children's usage products are always been advertised more on the cartoon channels. So because cartoon channels have been watched more by children's only. So if I endorse my product which is for children, ಆ ಚಾನಲಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟನ್ನು ನಾವು ಅಡ್ವರ್ಟೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಆಟೋಮೆಟಿಕ್ಲಿ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟಾರ್ಗೆಟ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ನು ಇನ್ಫ್ಲೂಯೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ದಂಗೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So likewise, target consumers are kept in mind before advertisement. So these company strategies would be framed based on this testimonial advertising strategy. Then socialization. So this like permits an individual to know what behavior is likely to result in stability, both for individual and as well as for the group. So as we know that we are part and parcel of the society. So whatever I do, whatever my company decides or whatever a consumer buys, it is always socialized. It is always the part of society. So whatever we purchase, it should be always part of society. The company manual may explain the dress code in the workplace. Again, this is also important. Whenever we are part of a certain company or whenever we are part of certain group, so there are certain norms, rules and regulations which has been framed. So we may get some manual which has been listed in the manner, and the rules and regulations have been listed in that. So based on that, we will be getting the pattern of working. So dress code also might be mentioned in that manual. Then we have informal groups may tell them what styles are most comfortable and easiest to maintain. Like we may observe someone and ಅವರನ್ನು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಾವು ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಿಹೇವಿಯರ್ ಅನ್ನು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ಅನ್ನು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಇಫ್ someone is making in that style and it is been more influential for anything, so we may also adopt that style. That is what this will appeal. Social comparison. Individuals often evaluate themselves by comparing themselves to others. They always compare themselves with others, and in comparison they decide whether I am up to that level or no, or where I am lacking. And if someone is identified where I am lacking, they will be working on that to improve their lacking criteria. Then consumer often use reference groups as benchmark to measure their own behavior, opinions, abilities and possessions. So now reference groups have been kept at one side, and an individual will be kept these reference groups as benchmark, as a target, as a standard. And with that standard, they will compare themselves, their behavior, their opinion, their abilities, their possessions, etc. etc. So after comparing, they will see, they will study and analyze where I am, how I need to modify, how I need to update, how I need to change. This all would be kept in mind after comparing the reference group with the individual behavior. Then comes the advertising or television can be source of social comparison. So in the advertisement or in television especially, the different brands have been endorsed. ಸೊ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಬ್ರಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ಅವ್ರ ಅಡ್ವರ್ಟೈಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ನೋಡಿ ನಾವೇ ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಯಾವ ಅಡ್ವರ್ಟೈಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಯಾವ ಅಡ್ವರ್ಟೈಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಬೀನ್ ಎಂಡೋರ್ಸ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ ವೇ. ಲೈಕ್ ವೈಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲುಯೆನ್ಸ್ ದ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ಸ್. Then comes the conformity, a change in beliefs or actions based on real or perceived group pressures. So, changes, whatever the changes are taking place, whether it is action based or no, whether the change is directly influencing me or directly impacting me or no, at the node they will be deciding. Then comes the compliance. When an individual conforms to the wishes of the group without accepting all its beliefs or behaviors. Compliance is like individual is not been particularly satisfied with that, but without knowing the proper this thing, they just without accepting all their beliefs and behaviors, they feel like I am the part of that particular group. Then comes acceptance. When an individual actually changes his or her beliefs and values to choose or to those of the groups. So after becoming part of certain group, I actually change my beliefs, I actually change my values, my behavior according to that group. So this is called acceptance through reference groups. Okay. So friends, in our today's class, we have discussed how what are reference groups and how these reference groups influence the individuals. There might be certain criteria to influence the reference groups where they influence the consumers. Okay. Thank you one and all.